Hello. Perhaps on one of the sunnier days of the last few weeks, you've been able to enjoy time, appropriately distanced and in the open air, with a friend, perhaps in their garden. If it's a really well-kept garden, and very much a loved garden, you might have seen this sign, which is very encouraging. Yet on the other hand, you may have been a bit naughty and popped round to see a friend who wasn't in your bubble. As you had a cup of tea with them, or coffee or biscuits, your eyes may have been drawn to something like this appearing on the wall. Quite rightly, gulp. Because for good, and sometimes, if truth be told, for not so good, God is with us by day, by night. And God's love surrounds us by day and by night. Unwavering, constant, steady. And most of the time, this is really good news. And all of the time, it should be really good news. But sometimes it can be a bit gulp news. Listen to what the psalmist had to say in Psalm 139. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day. The darkness is as light to you. God is with us in isolation and in company. We focus that in church, don't we? This is where the community gather. And we celebrate the moment, being able, those of us who can, being back in our places of worship. And some can't be able to do that. And this is where we practice together the presence of God. We seek to be aware of the closeness of God in a good way, every bit as much as a challenging way. Too often, the presence of God and worship can feel a bit like this pair of paintings by John Millay. This one's called My First Sermon. Wow, good. And this one's called My Second Sermon. How true. How true. And for that poor girl, it may have been terribly boring, but God was there. And sometimes we look for God and we don't seem to find him. But he is there, drawing us on, drawing us up into himself. A light shining in the darkness. Here's a lovely painting by the Scottish portrait painter A. Borthwick called The Presence. Up at the front of the church, they're having a high old time around the high altar, celebrating and worshipping together, as you can see in the distance. But close to is also where Christ is, comforting the lost, reassuring those who are at their wits' end. It is the light shining in the darkness, which the darkness has not overcome. To that one woman, in her desperate need, Christ is there. Wherever you are, wherever you may be coming from, whatever you may be feeling like, Christ is there. And as you find the time to encounter him, may he break his blessings over you in perhaps a similar way to this encountered by the poet R.S. Thomas. The poem is called The Moor. It was like a church to me. I entered it on soft foot, breath held like a cap in the hand. It was quiet. What God was there made himself felt, not listened to, in clean colours that brought a moistening of the eye in movement of the wind over grass. There were no prayers said, but stillness of the heart's passions. That was praise enough, and the mind's session of its kingdom. I walked on simple and poor, while the air crumbled and broke on me generously as bread.